Hello everyone and welcome back to SAFC Fan TV and another edition of Thursday Night Live. Tonight joining me on the panel first and foremost we have the Madness Steak. Terry, how are you getting on?
Brilliant. Had a really busy day. Been for me 4 or 5 mile run around the woods. Did me preview for the match. Had me tea and I'm all ready to talk more Sunderland.
You've had a much more productive day than I have. We're also joined as well by Jack Shields down the bottom there. Jack, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm all right. Decent week, apart from results-wise, and looking forward to the big crack about Sunderland and the weekend coming very, very shortly. It's always the start of the weekend, this show, I always think.
Well, good way to think about it. It's not been a great result football-wise, has it though, really? We are live as always, so the live chat is open. If you would like to get yourselves in there, we'll read out as many comments as we can throughout the show and feel free to chat among yourselves as well. If you'd like to, already on there, Ian Curry, FNRL Chips, that's a hard one to read. Dan Humphrey, John Forbes, Last Palmers and Mackens as always. Hello to David Walker, Chris Day, Chloe Gibson, John Forbes, and Nigel Dunn. Lads, we don't want to talk about this for too long, I don't think, but of course we've got to start off with the major news of this week, the disappointment of Tuesday night, a 2-1 defeat away at Cheltenham Town. Jack, I'll start with you. How much of a disappointing result was that?
Yeah, very disappointing. I think when you look at the form of Cheltenham, I think they've won in about 12 or 13 games, and they're a team that realistically, if we want to be getting promoted from this league, we need to be winning. First half, I thought we were the better team. We got the foot on the ball. We played the better stuff. We got the goal really well taken. Goal free kick from Alex Pritchard, top corner, really well. Everything was going all right. And then second half, just what happened? Cheltenham upped the game, wanted it a little bit more than we did. You know, put a bit of pressure on. Same mistakes that were made against Doncaster and Bolton and all the other defeats. Teams physically wanting the ball more than we do, battling a little bit harder. You can't say it on paper Cheltenham are a better team than Sunderland. What you can say is, though, that second half, they just sheerly wanted to win the game more than we did. They had more battle, more fight, and that's absolutely no excuse for a Sunderland team to be beaten, by such a mediocre team. I'm not being disrespectful to Cheltenham, but I'm sick of this attitude. We're in League One. We should just accept it. No, realistically, we're the biggest club in League One. We have ambitions to get higher, and we shouldn't be accepting results like that. And just terrible all night. Terrible result all the way around.
Yeah, pretty well said, Jack. I thought we were okay in the first half, pretty average, but not too bad. And I think as the second half progressed, they got, progressively better and we got progressively worse. Really, going more than we. And I think where it really went wrong was the interim, head coaches on the touchline refusing to make any changes. It was far too long. It took to make any substitutions. I think it was clear to me that a change in tact or personnel, particularly in the midfield, I think would have done us the world of good. And I just think a bit of stubbornness, maybe just, maybe a little bit of a lack of ambition or lack of courage. But whatever it was, we decided not to make any substitutions. I think that really came across us in the end. Terry, before we go to you, just two things. We are due to be joined by Gary P from Fans React at any moment now. He is running just a few moments late. But back to the live chat as well. DJ Earth, hello to you. Hello to John T, Billy G too, as well as Jack Shaw. Terry, I'll go to you though. I'm sure you've got some interesting words to say on Tuesday night's performance.
Do you know what it was? When I saw the team, I thought, yes, we made the changes finally. And in the first half, I kind of enjoyed it. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought we dominated the match. I thought we controlled the game. I thought they created nothing apart from a few crosses. And when the goal was brutal, we could see the goal was coming. Their keeper was a mile over to one side. I just put in the top corner. It was a goal all day. So half-time, 1-0. I was a bit disappointed we didn't score more than one goal in the first half. But I never, ever saw that coming. At half-time, I felt confident we were going to take the victory. Second half, we come out, and either they upped the game, their assistant coach or manager had better tactical awareness than ours, because I don't know what we did at half-time. I don't know what the team talk was. Have a rest, lads. Chill out. You've won all day long. Take it easy. Didn't get any injuries. I don't know what it was, but they came out with more momentum, up their game, like Jack said. And I was just thinking, is Clark getting a little bit tired because he hasn't played much time? Is Matete starting to get a little bit tired? I thought, time to make changes. We've got to make some changes right now. About 10 minutes before the goal came, you could see it was coming, and I was screaming out for changes. And them coaches, I mean, they're not head coaches. They're not managers. They look after kids on the bench or on the 23s. They've got no idea, basically, how to sort of understand what's going on with the game for me. And you could tell they were standing there picking their noses, not doing anything, letting them warm up on the sidelines, all the players not changing. I knew they were going to score before they made the change. And it was just typical, wasn't it? I mean, did Evans in midfield, he's not a captain. He's not a captain. He's not a good enough player. Winchester would have been more suited to start there in the midfield all day long. We only played Evans because he's got the captain armband on. I mean, sure, Danny Barr could have been captain for the night. But the intensity wasn't there. We lost our way completely, and Cheltenham got the bit between the teeth. Got the first goal. We made the change that Roberts came on, dived for a penalty, got a yellow card, and then they got their winning goal. And Bart was saying two deflections for their goals. I thought the second goal wasn't a deflection. I don't know if I was saying something different to anybody else. And at the end, I was just gutted. They haven't won since bloody November, man, for God's sake. It's pathetic. And this club itself, with KLD, 11 days with no manager in. Are we going to go on to another game at the weekend? Wimbledon with no head coach in. It is absolutely rubbish the way it's being run at the moment. And this long-term plan, what is it? Come on, you tell me. But I'm disappointed with the way out. I couldn't believe it. I was actually convinced we were going to win that game at half-time. And like Sunderland always do, just kick you in the teeth.
Yeah, we are going to get onto the head coach situation at the moment. I mean, in a few minutes. Sorry, I do really hope that it isn't long before we've got someone else in. I think it's quite clear that those three running things at the moment, they're very tactically inept. If they didn't realise that a change needed to be made for me around about the 55th minute at the very least on Tuesday night, then I question, do you even know anything about football, to be honest? Terry mentioned Corey Evans there. It was a player that me and Dino on the watch-along were criticising quite heavily. I thought he had a massive I was going to say off date, to be honest, but I think that'll be a little bit disingenuous because I don't really rate him anyway, really. I just think he's a bit of an outdated midfielder. You know, he's a bit like Max Power, kind of not very physical. He looks okay on the ball. He can play a few kind of like, short, neat and tidy passes, but doesn't look as if he's got a great deal of physicality. But even still, I think, there's a lot of misplaced passes on Tuesday night, just short, simple ones like that you would expect any player on their day to make. Maybe slightly more on the positive side. I know that's hard to look on. Clark, Matete and Trey Hume all made their debuts on Tuesday evening. Jack, I'll start with you again. I thought all three of them did all right. I thought it was an all right debut from at the very least.
I thought Matete looked pretty good. He was one of the ones that I thought stood out a little bit. He battled hard. He won the ball quite a lot. I think we're still lacking a little bit in that department, but I think he looks like someone who's going to put his foot in and win the ball, which is, you're crying out for that because the games are so scrappy at this level. That's the way that a lot of teams are beating us, the battling and winning possession and then going from there. They're not playing good football to beat us. It's just they're fighting a little bit harder. So I think he did win the ball quite a lot, put himself about a little bit. Sunderland fans will love that. You know what I mean? We love players that give 100% and put the body on the line. You can maybe let him off for the odd mistake if he does that. I thought he was tidy in possession as well, so I was pretty impressed. He didn't have a spectacular game, don't get me wrong. I wasn't coming away thinking, oh, he's unbelievable, but I thought he was quietly impressive. Clark, I thought, looked decent when he got on the ball. He faded a little bit in the second half, but the whole of the team did, to be fair. And Trey Hume, can't really say he did anything wrong. He didn't really do anything massively right. I thought he was a bit anonymous, to be fair. So, yeah, but I particularly say Matete did well out of the three. I thought he was one of the better players, not that we had too many of them on the night.
Yeah, I think he was probably slightly at fault for their equalising goal. He was way off his man a little bit. I think the keeper lumped it up and Matete was just too far off. I think the lad took it down quite easily. But aside from that, I thought he did quite well. Looks quite physical. Looks pretty strong on the ball as well. Built on what was a decent substitute appearance as his debut at the weekend. I thought Trey Hume didn't do a great deal going forward, but didn't really lose the ball. Defended, pretty well. Did the basics quite well, I think, and didn't really put a foot wrong. As for Clark, I thought the second half, he, as did most of the team, he tailed off quite a bit. But I thought in the first half, basically everything that we did that was positive came through him, really. He was very aggressive with his manner. He ran with a lot of pace and a lot of directness. He was always pressing, forced an opportunity by winning the ball off one of their defenders and take a shot. Maybe should have passed to Diaku, but I thought Clark looked pretty hopeful as well. So just to touch on a positive side, really, if we can, I thought that was 3 half-decent debuts. And joining us now on the stream to give his thoughts is the marvellous Gary P. Gary, before we get into football, how are you doing?
I'm all right, but I've just joined you. You're talking about being positive, so I'll get off then because I'm going to bring it down big style.
Go on then, Gary. Take us all back down to planet Earth. What do you think?
Well, I was talking about Cheltenham here.
Yeah, we're still on the topic of Cheltenham.
Second half, just utterly inept for me. Shocking. There were just 11 strangers, weren't they, in the second half? They were just all over the place. I'm not sure what style we were playing. We've got Stewart chasing lost balls. I thought Clark played well first half, but he seemed to want to drift inside. Him and Diaku kept swapping. I'm not sure what the benefit of that is. And one of the real frustrations for me is this two-man midfield, because sometimes Bolton being the obvious example, we're just getting absolutely overrun in midfield. And while Matete, I thought, did really well as a defensive midfielder, it seems like we were trying to push Evans forward, and Evans is not that kind of midfielder for me. So I don't think those two together are going to work. I actually thought Roy Keane was the one bright spot for me. He played some really good passes to feet. He got up and down the wing quite well. Didn't give the ball away maybe more than once. So I think he did okay. Patson did all right. But do you know what really troubles me at the moment is we keep hearing about, the style of play we want to implement, and we've got these ideas for a formation and a consistent method across all teams in the club. And I look at the last 3 games and I'm thinking, where is it? Where's that identity? And it certainly wasn't there the second half the other night. Just crap, basically.
Yeah.
Sums it up. There you go. Needed to get off the case, Jack.
Yeah, and that's what I'd say for, to get things off your chest and hopefully feel a little bit better about the world. Terry, before we come to you on the 3 debutants, just another quick glance at the live chat. David Jones in 50 grand a week, too much of KLD, or is it Charlie Methven? Tam on the live chat saying SAFC is suffering from a lack of ambition. We have 0 standards. Right, the season off, it's over. Conrad Tank on there as well saying newcomers look good, Matete, Hume and Clark. Nigel Dunn, more Charlie Methven commenting on the question, Charlie Methven's management skills, why was he in the selection interview panel? And Dan Hall saying Hume looked decent for his first match. Terry, I'll come to you on this. The 3 debutants, I think we've all agreed so far that they all looked okay. What did you think of them?
I thought they all looked okay. All of them in the first half. I thought Matete was all over the park. I thought he was doing too much. I thought Evans let Matete down a lot in the midfield. Matete did that much work in the midfield that for me, second half, he got tired. And Evans just doesn't do anything. The same with Trey Hume. I thought Trey Hume had a really good debut as well. I thought he was going down the right-hand side, giving good balls to Evans, but Evans wasn't giving the ball back to Trey Hume, and he was running up the pitch and being left all by himself. So I thought Evans, for me, had a poor game, and for me, he isn't the man in midfield. For next match, I'll probably put Winchester in there or someone different, because I just don't think Evans is not a captain for starters, and he just doesn't do enough for me in midfield. It's going to let players like Matete down all the time. Matete had a good game first half. Second half, he got tired. Clark the same. Good game first half. Second half, he tailed off a little bit. I thought Trey Hume, for me, had an effective game for most of the game. I thought he looked lively. He was sort of barking out instructions. He wasn't happy when Evans wasn't giving them the ball back, which I like to see a bit of vocal from the new players in the side. So for me, he's got a bit about him, Trey Hume. But we cannot be playing, I'm convinced now, we cannot stay at this moment in time with the centre-backs we have, with 2 centre-backs at the back. It's just not good enough. They're not good enough at 2. We're weak as piss. We need 3 centre-backs at the back. It doesn't matter if we bring Jamajli in. It doesn't matter if people think he's not good enough. He's a centre-back. He's not a midfielder. He'll get in the centre-back position until Wright comes back. Because we need 3 at the back, because at the moment, 2 of them are being overrun because the midfield, with like I say, Evans in, is weak.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a rumour during the rounds that Bailey Wright has been back in training and is actually in contention to come back on Saturday. I think we'd all be in agreement that the sooner he comes back, the better, really, to give us another option. I think he was coming into probably some of his best form in his time at the club before he got his injury, and I think it would be a welcome inclusion back. Terry, I know you want an injury, but just before I go back to you, I want to say 78 people watching. 78 likes, 330 people watching. If you haven't already, please do give us a like. Just leave us a thumbs up. It is free to do so. It'll only take you a second. And if you haven't subscribed as well, it'd be greatly appreciated. And you won't miss any of our future streams or videos. But Terry, back to you.
It would annoy me if Wright came back and replaced Trey Hume at right back. That would annoy the life out of me. The lad's done okay for me. He's got plenty of pace. You could run all night for me, that Trey Hume. Up and down the right-hand side as a wing-back. I think he'd play a decent position there for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a topic we can get into really in terms of who do you drop and who do you change from today's game to the weekend. I know, of course, hopefully there will be some head coach announcement before 3 o'clock on Saturday. But, you know, I guess if we were all in charge, what we would do. Gary, I'll start with you. The team that started on Tuesday night, what change would you make going into Saturday?
Well, I say I was pretty happy with the team when I saw it, starting with Clark in particular and Matete. I mean, we've got to get Bailey Wright back in. Absolutely agree with everything Terry said there. We've got this real soft centre, and it's the midfield and the centre halves. That's where we're weak at the moment. Whether we like it or not, we're missing Flanagan. I think Flanagan and Doyle were a decent pairing. Bath or Bath, however you pronounce it, not convinced by him at all. Having said that, the Portsmouth game, we had 3 centre halves. And I agree, if Bailey Wright comes back in, it's got to be with wing backs, Hume on one side. I'm not convinced by Sirkin at all. But somebody on the left, where do we lose somebody? This thing we've got about playing 3 men off Stewart just doesn't work for me. I think too often they're anonymous. I think you're probably looking at Clark and Pritchard playing off Stewart, and then maybe Roberts coming on at some point. So, yeah, in midfield, it's Matete and one other. I'd be happy to see Winchester back in there, or maybe it's Neil. Now he's had a rest.
Yeah.
How many players on them there? About 12.
I think so. You've named quite a few. Jack, I'll go to you on this next as well. I think probably changing to the 3 at the back might be beneficial. Give us a little bit more strength, a little bit more kind of dominance in the game. I think a bit really if Bailey Wright comes back, or if maybe any changes in the midfield. How would you look to approach Saturday's game in comparison to Tuesday night?
Yeah, I'd definitely go back to 3 at the back. I think we're soft aerially, we're soft physically at the back. How many? I noticed it at Bolton. It was a long ball up that we conceded from. We conceded a goal at Accrington that way. Keeper kicking it up. There was a goal the other night against Cheltenham. Hoofs up the pitch. You know what I mean? That's where you need a big, nasty centre half to put his body on the line, get his head up, win a header. And too often that simple kick up from the middle of the pitch is catching us out. And how many goals have conceded? 3 already that I've listed there. It's too easy to score goals against us. I agree with what the other fellas have said. We've got a soft underbelly, and I think Bailey Wright, albeit technically probably a little bit weaker than maybe Doyle or someone like that on the ball, but he'll offer you like a stereotypical old-fashioned centre half. He'll head it, he'll kick it, he'll battle, he'll fight with a strike if he needs to. And I think Matete did show a little bit of that in the middle, and I agree with what Terry said. I think Corey Evans has been anonymous, not just this last few games, all season. And I think when you look to a captain of a big club like Sunderland, you're looking for a leader. You're looking for someone to be, rallying people and putting in tackles and grafting. I mean, he doesn't play very often. He's always injured, and when he does play, you hardly notice him. He doesn't offer anything defensively. He doesn't offer anything in the tackle. So I think Matete and another, whether that's Winchester, someone who'll graft, or maybe a bit more of a Dan Neil, either or. I'd be more inclined to go with Winchester away from home, because I think, at home, Dan Neil's really good when we get on the ball. But I think in a battling, away to Wimbledon on Saturday, I think you might need someone like a Winchester who's a bit more likely to graft. So I think that's what I would go with. The only issue is, if Defoe gets fit, people are going to want him to start. And where does Defoe fit in? Does he play off Ross Stewart? I mean, I know I'm going off on a tangent a little bit here, but I think we've got options. It's just working out how to get them all in, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think squad depth is one thing we did improve on in January, isn't it, really? I think going back to 3 at the back would definitely help us. I think Bailey Wright should come back to the team as soon as we can. Whether you take Doyle out or give him a rest or not, I don't know. I think he is looking a little bit exhausted now, and potentially a couple of games out of the side might help him. Obviously, I think that was the treatment that Dan Neil received on Tuesday night, being taken out the starting 11. Maybe went on to hinder us in the end, I don't know, but I don't think he's been particularly strong. Recently, I think him, Winchester, and Matete will be quite a strong midfield. You got, your physical grafter in there in Matete. You got someone to cover a lot of distance in terms of Winchester, and you got your more creative spark in Dan Neil. But then equally, that would mean that Alex Pritchard probably falls out of favour. So I don't envy whoever does come in and has got these types of decisions to make. Just quickly going back to the live chat, Brian Halliday saying perhaps we should have both Neil and McCann. Apparently saying David Kay saying who's Steadman. not sure who's on about there. Terry saying, well said, Terry lad. Brian Halliday saying, so new manager, Neil McCann. And last Thomas Mackham saying, play 3-5-2, Defoe and Stewart up front, which I think will be a pretty strong option as soon as Defoe is fit and ready enough to play full games. Arguably the biggest news of this week really was broke today. The news brought today that Roy Keane is no longer the front runner for the Sunderland job. Before we get into the possible replacements and who else we would like to see on the touchline, Terry, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that? You know, what's your opinion on Roy Keane no longer being the front runner to be Sunderland manager?
I am personally gutted, me, because I wanted Roy Keane to come in as the head coach, and I kind of somewhere at the back of my mind was thinking it's not going to happen. They're not going to pay him the amount of money he wants, probably anyway. He's not going to get the sort of the run of the club that he wants as well. So I just thought it wasn't going to happen. Just when I seen Roy Keane being interviewed and I seen the little smirks on his face, I thought he must have definitely got the job, or he's definitely in the top 2 to get the job. And you heard all the rumours that he's getting the job. And like today, it's like one after another. You get built up, you get kicked in the teeth again. So it's always disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. So I'm disappointed Roy Keane isn't coming in. But the 2 lads who are now, you know, between 2 of them, I think, I'd be happy with either one of those. But like I say, I wanted Roy Keane to come in, but I think it's just like, I don't know, for starters, if Charlie Methven has anything at all to do with the interview process. That's absolutely shocking for starters. Salmon Pants shouldn't be anywhere near this. The only time I want to say that person at the Stadium of Light when he's discussing selling his shares to KLD, that's the only time he should come into the North East. That's it. You know, so if he's anywhere in the interview process, you wonder why Keane's like, piss off, I'm going. I'll stay in the ITV.
Yeah, Jack, I got you on this next. Doesn't look like Roy Keane's coming back to the club then. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think we all got our hearts set on it, didn't we? Thought he would be exactly what we need. He would raise standards. He would, lift the club like he did, 14, 15 years ago when he was manager. And I think Roy Keane's gone into that interview and I don't think he's liked what he saw, whether it was the money, whether it was the people that were interviewing him, whether it was the vision for the club. I agree with what Terry said. I don't think Stuart Donald, Charlie Methven, Sartori and the others, I don't think they should be anywhere near making the decisions at our football club. I think they've only got a 10% share, have they? Or something like that. So why are they even involved in the process? I don't get it. I don't know why they're carrying so much favour with the process and with the people at the KLD and Speakman. So I get that they have the say, I get that they have some kind of a say, but I do get the feeling like Charlie Methven and Stuart Donald, they wouldn't have liked Roy Keane as a manager. I think he would have told them a few home truths, and I think that they're not them type of people. They want everything all their own way. They want to run something like Eastleigh, like they used to run Eastleigh or an Oxford United, and the simple fact is, we're too big of a club to be run that way. I think Roy Keane's probably had a look at it and thought, I'm not going to get anywhere near as much control as I want. I'm having people that are pound shop insurance salesmen telling me how to get involved with football. And Roy Keane's he's played at the World Cup. He's played for Man United, biggest club in the country, arguably. Played in Champions Leagues. And he's having to answer to people like Stuart Donald and Charlie Methven and one or two others. It's absolutely no wonder he hasn't taken the job. People are saying it's finance. I know Roy Keane's got a nice cushy job at ITV. I don't know if it was money. I genuinely don't. I think Roy Keane was interested in the job, but I think he's looked at it. And thought, he's weighed everything up and just thought, nah, that's not for me. And who's to blame him? The way the results we're getting and the way we're being run at the moment, it's hard to disagree with him.
Terry, I know you want in just there. I think with Roy Keane, my personal take on it is that, there's been a lot of meetings and discussions and interviews and what have you. And I think he's probably came away from all of these taking a feeling that he's not going to have as much control as he would have wanted. We know that the last time when he ended up leaving the club, it was due to a bit of a falling out, I think, with the hierarchy at the club. And I think with the way we're running ourselves at the moment, the director of football, making, who's been a lot more responsible for signings of the under-23s and of the first team and things like that. I think that Roy Keane would probably want to have a little bit more control over proceedings, wouldn't want to be told what to do by anyone. And whether that's right or wrong, I think that's probably, in the end, in my opinion, it's things like that that's probably led to him, no longer wanting to take the job. I guess financially, we're not going to be paying him as much money as he's on for his punditry, but I do think that money might not have been a massive issue for him. I think he would have probably been willing to take a little bit of a pay cut to get back into coaching and managing. I can't remember who it was, but one of his colleagues, it might have been Micah Richards. It was someone who worked with him pretty closely over the last few years, had said that he did want to get back into coaching and that he saw his punditry almost as a hobby. And sometimes to get back into coaching, you've got to go in at a lower level, prove yourself at a League One and then maybe a Championship club, or you take a club Championship, takes a chance on you and you work your way up to the Premier League. My personal opinion, like I say, I think it's a case of he's been offered a certain role and they've talked about, how it's going to work. And he said, no, I want a little bit more control than that. And they've said, well, we've got our model of how we're going to operate the club and that doesn't fit with us. Terry, you want in just a minute ago?
I still think Roy Keane, if he came to Sunderland, would still do his punditry. I mean, Gareth Ainsworth does it at Sky Sports during the week sometimes, so I think he still would have done some of it. So I still think he wouldn't have lost all his punditry money. He still, at the summertime, would have went on to do it as well. So I think, like I say, it was probably more to do with the hierarchy at the club.
Yeah. Gary, we'll go to you on this. You gutted that Roy Keane's not coming back, and what's your personal thoughts on it?
Yeah, absolutely gutted. Partially because of the hype and the build-up. And again, it's just so typical Sunderland, isn't it? We're in dire straits. We're losing games against the likes of Cheltenham and Doncaster. And you think Keane will come in and sort this out. He'll give us a kick up the arse, get a bit of momentum going. And, here we are again, where it looks as though he's withdrawn his interest rather than us knocking him back. I've got to say, I think I was surprised he was even in the frame from Speakman's point of view. And listening to Speakman's podcast last week, and I think he said this before, in terms of his first team coach, he does succession planning. This is part of Speakman's job, to think about who might come in, who might be a good fit in that role. Presumably not just first team coach, but all those kinds of management levels within the club. So having said all that, I'm thinking he's going to find a left field appointment for us here. A bit like Ipswich did with McCann. Somebody maybe we've never heard of before. He's been working at a big successful club, worked under an influential manager, and we'll bring somebody like that in. And you know what? The shortlist has ended up being Roy Keane, who's been here before but hasn't managed for whatever it is, 10, 11 years, and two blokes who have managed at this level and are out of work. It's hardly the most inspiring of lists. If that was the shortlist, I thought we might end up with a foreign coach, somebody with new ideas. I think look at people like Neil Critchley at Blackpool, who's done a fantastic job, having come from Liverpool's setup, and I was expecting somebody like that. As the lads have just said, Keane's going to want his own way. He learned under Ferguson. Ferguson was all controlling at Man United. That will be his main point of influence. And it seemed really strange that we were going for Keane in the first place. But if we saw him on telly at the weekend on ITV, he sat there grinning, he's having a bit of a fun with him. And it looks to all the world like he wants to come and it's a done deal. And as they said in those interviews, it's just about getting the right contract. And it's about, he also made some reference to, it's about who else he'll be working with. Now, we know the guy is impatient. We know the guy is very much a force of nature. They want to come in, get on with it, make things happen. And it's 10, 11 days since we sacked Johnson. Keane was talking about this on Friday night. We're now Thursday, when it was announced, we're Thursday morning. We're talking second interviews. We're talking about the man not being in place by the Wimbledon game on Saturday. Do you know what? I think Keane's just thought, there's no direction, there's no strength, there's no intent at this club. They're messing around, whether they're haggling over contracts or doing whatever. If after 10 days they've not gone on with it and made it happen, then I think that tells its own tale. And I do, whoever's running the show behind, whether it's Speakman, KLD, Meth, or anybody else, they've dithered. They've dithered to the point at which I honestly believe Keane's looked at it and thought, no matter how much I want to go back to Sunderland, no matter, the haggling over the contract, where he lives, punditry, anything else, you know what? I think he's probably just got hacked off with the whole thing and said, forget this. You're not the club for me. Not with these guys in charge, because they've messed around. And I think he's just got bored of waiting and he's kicked them into touch. I honestly think that.
Yep. Go on, Terry.
I was kind of hoping when KLD come in, and when KLD's been here for so long, you kind of hope that he's his own man, that he'll do things differently than the past, and that it's going to be like a breath of fresh air. But after this escapade, I'm thinking to myself, who's actually in charge? Who's running the show? Does anybody know what's going on? Because it just looks like he's so naive now. It's like, is he just a front man? Or I just don't know what's going on now. I'm confused completely.
Well, he's still young, isn't he, Terry? So he's still young. He's bound to have influence from within his family. We know that, or we believe that Donald and Methven are still shareholders. He's got Speakman as his director of football. No doubt the likes of Dave Jones will have been influencing him. I suspect that's where the contact with Keane came from. Maybe there's too many people influencing him. And maybe it's between those people, they haven't come to firm decisions. And there's been no clear line of sight in terms of what we needed and how quickly we could make it happen. And I suspect...
You would think he'd have the final say, though, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. But it makes me wonder whether, while all this is going on in the background, it's held the job up to the point at which Keane's just said, hang on a minute, more Chiefs than Indians here. Forget it. I don't want to know. Because Friday night on the TV, he looks to all the world like a man who's about to start. I mean, was it Sunday afternoon, Mark Pugas says to him, have you got a busy week? And he sat there smiling. Yeah, I've got a busy week coming up. No comment, whatever. We're Thursday morning and he hasn't started the job that he thinks he's got. Of course he's going to get hacked off.
Unless we've promised him a few things on the Thursday or Friday when he went in and we said, yeah, we'll do all of that. And he's thought on Friday on ITV it's nailed on. And then maybe the goalposts have shifted from inside of Sunderland AFC. And suddenly we've said, well, actually, you know, when you said you could have the job on these terms, well, actually, we want you to do this, that, and the other. And maybe he's thought, well, no, that's not what I agreed. You know what I mean? And maybe the one or two I've heard relocation. Maybe he didn't want to actually live in the northeast and wanted to live somewhere else and come up. I don't know. I'm just putting things out there. I don't know. I've heard that from one or two. And maybe we've initially agreed to it, thinking he would, and then we've actually backtracked. And maybe Roy Keane said, no, you've shifted the goalposts here, and no, that's not what I agree. Because one thing about Roy Keane is he does seem to have really high standards, and it was our benefit when he took us up. But now he's coming in and he's seeing a club that's been run, let's be honest, shambolically, off the field and on the field. And he's looked at it and thought, well, actually, I've dug a little bit, scratched the surface here, and this is not the Sunderland that I wanted and know and signed up for. So I'm out type thing, which is when you put all your eggs in one basket and it backfires, it ends up, makes you look a bit unprofessional. And, you know, like you said, nearly 2 weeks down the line, we're no real further forward. Well, we are now, but this morning we weren't.
Yeah, I just think the situation's gone on for too long. You know, I think when you get rid of the head coach or manager, you get given maybe 4 to 5 days, and as soon as you haven't brought one in, then people start getting impatient. Once it gets to longer than a week, I think people start, questioning that was a knee-jerk decision and there's been no kind of plan afterwards. I think we've personally put all of our eggs into the Roy Keane basket after sacking Lee Johnson. I think that was a knee-jerk reaction in the first place. I think it was probably a decision made there and then on the Sunday. It wasn't one that was given much thought. So we weren't prepared to bring someone else in. We then put all our eggs in Roy Keane's basket. He's then turned us down and decided he doesn't want the job. And now we're having to, go on the search again. I think, to be honest, before you sack the manager, you've got to have at least 3 or 4 candidates so you're fairly certain want the job and of a suitable fit to come in. So when you do get rid of them, you give yourself 4 to 5 days to speak to them all, negotiate contracts and outline things and stuff like that. And I just think the situation's gone on for far too long. To me, it looks like we've made this decision without much thought what we're going to do afterwards. And now we're paying the price for not being the type of club that our number one priority wants. Before we go on to who we want to replace, Lee Johnson, of course, still not been announced. Just quickly look back at the live chat. Andrew Flynn there saying the players fit into his system, so back him. It's some fans that have driven us to this mess. Penalistino says KLD is a fake who owns a club. We need wake up, and we need to apologies. Got a bit lost there. David Jones and hierarchies of football clubs don't like the likes of Roy Keane, Brian Clough figures. For me, them kind of figures are the best. They don't take any BS. Adam French as well saying, could be worse. It could have been Bob Bradley, which of course would have been an awful decision. There have been two names thrown about all day, really, for potential men to take over from Lee Johnson. First of which being Alex Neil, the second of which being Grant McCann. Terry, I'll start with you. Out of those two, what are your thoughts on them and which one would you prefer?
Do you know what it is? I kind of like them both. I'm kind of swaying slightly towards Alex Neil now. I've looked at the CV, what they've done in the past. Both have had teams promoted. They both got stronger personalities than the last coach, Lee Johnson. They both know how to survive kind of without a large budget because, I mean, Hull never really had a massive budget. Neither did, I don't think, Norwich, you know, I mean, they did have some money, but they surely wouldn't have as much money as Sunderland would do in the same situation. So Alex Neil, both 40, 41 years of age. I thought Grant McCann was hard lines, getting sacked as the manager of Hull when they were in a similar situation they are now, all these months on, before he got sacked by the new Turkish consortium who came in. I thought he was doing a decent job. I know he got relegated from the Championship, but got promoted as champion straight away with Hull, and he kept himself. I mean, Hull are not really going to push to the top end of the Championship at the moment, so I thought he was doing a decent job with Hull. Alex Neil, first day in the job. The next day, he got, I think they beat the team that was top of the league at the time, Bournemouth 2-1 up under Norwich. So Alex Neil came in, had an effect straight away, won 17 out of 25 games in charge, got them in the playoffs, beat Ipswich in the semi-finals, then beat Middlesbrough in the final, got them in the Premier League. Norwich is Norwich. Norwich are always going to go up and down. He got sacked when he got knocked down at the Championship and they went 8th place at the time. He got sacked, I think it was. So, I mean, Daniel Farke did the same thing. Norwich are in the same situation now. They're a bit of a yo-yo club. So I think Alex Neil's done okay with the money he's had. Kept Preston in the Championship for a good 3 or 4 seasons. And again, I think their owners probably expected too much from him. And they left on mutual consent. So I think that both of them are decent candidates. I wouldn't mind any of them. I like to see them a bit more animated on the touchline, which both characters are. They're both stronger characters. I think they both play decent football. So I'm disappointed with Roy Keane, but if we didn't get one of these two, I'd be bitterly disappointed.
Yeah, I think, they look like the right type of fit. Quickly look back at the live chat. Neil Barraclough says, why is everybody negative about Alex Neil? He's a canny manager, good CV, high pressing game. Sounds good to me. Tam saying, we don't employ managers, we employ yes men. Brian Halliday saying poor decisions, and David Jones on the live chat as well saying big difference in Roy Keane, Alex Neil and Grant McCann. The first one is not a yes man, the other two are. I think both of them look like they'll be decent appointments. Fairly experienced at this kind of level in the English game. Fairly young managers, I think. Again, they're probably the types who are going to, accept being a head coach under a director of football and playing a certain style. Whether that's, a good thing or a bad thing, we don't know. But I think they would fit into what the club's trying to do quite well. I'll prefer Grant McCann myself. I thought he did quite well at Doncaster. I think he got them into the playoffs twice. We've seen how much Doncaster have dropped off this season. I think Doncaster are a pretty average run-of-the-mill League One club, so to get them in the playoffs twice is a decent achievement. Additionally as well, I know he got relegated, but Hull, like you said, Terry, but getting them promoted as league champions straight away and actually doing all right. The only reason he lost his job was because of the takeover. I think they're about 10 to 18 points, something like that, above the relegation zone, which isn't bad at all. You're looking fairly comfortable in that situation. So, treated a little bit, unfairly, a bit harshly at Hull. I think Grant McCann will be a great appointment in my opinion. Alex Neil, of course, as well. I think he wouldn't be too bad. I would prefer McCann over Neil, but either or will be all right. I think if we got one of them in, I'll be pretty content with that. Terry, you wanting just a moment to go again, mate? Yeah,
I just forgot to say we need to employ one of them before Saturday because we cannot afford to slip out of the playoffs. We cannot afford. We're still in a good position now. 16 games to go. Somebody comes in, rallies the players, plays his own style of football. A bit of few harsh words to one or two characters in the dressing room. Get the team winning again. We can still easily make the playoffs, and a very, very, very small outside squeak of the top two. You never know.
Well, it's one of them where we've got 15 games left to play off. I think. I mean, technically, that's 45 points are still up for grabs. I think if we were to get someone in the door for Saturday, I think every game that we have with Proctor and Dodds in charge, to me, is just another game, another opportunity wasted. Really, I don't have any confidence that they're going to win any games of football. I think if we do get any results, it's not going to have anything to do with them. It'll be the players on the pitch doing all the work. So I think the sooner we can get someone else in, the better. But I do think there's still a lot of points to play for. And I think if it's the right person who comes in and it can, spark a run similar to what we had at the start of the season, and we're picking up an average of 2 points a game, I'm pretty confident that top two could still be a possibility. However, the longer this drags on, the harder that becomes. As for the playoffs, I think as long as we can appoint someone pretty quickly, I'd be surprised if we fell out of the playoffs. Jack, before we go to you on whoever we want to be is our next manager. 434 people watching, 127 likes. So if you haven't already, please do give us a like. Just hit that thumbs up icon. See if we'll get a 200 before the end of the stream, where we greatly appreciate it as well. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It is free to do so, and you won't miss out on any of our future streams or videos. Jack, McCann and Neil are the two names getting thrown about. Would you be pleased with either of them, or is there even someone else you'd be thinking of?
I think it's looking more like Alex Neil from what I've seen online. It looks like he's pretty much nailed on. He's agreed terms. The only issue is whether or not he's going to actually take the team on Saturday. I think will be a quick turnaround. I agree with what you say, though. I think we do need somebody in place. We can't be going into the next game with the caretakers, because it's obvious that Dodds and Proctor it's not working. The performances in the last two have been nowhere near the level of performance you'd expect from the Sunderland team. You not have long to get to know the players. Might not even know the players' names or players' style of play, but I think he does need to be in place, and I think all things are pointing towards Alex Neil now. He's agreed terms. I think it's just whether or not he's going to be in charge for Saturday or not. Do I think it's the right move? Yes, I think he's probably the best out there. I know, Jack, you were saying you preferred Grant McCann. I don't think Grant McCann would have been as bad of an appointment as some people are suggesting. I'd personally prefer Alex Neil. Nothing against Grant McCann. I just think Alex Neil, I look at his kind of whole career since he started. I'm going back a few years, but I think he's only 31 when he took charge of a managerial job when he was at Hamilton in Scotland. Did very well, got them promoted. Then moved on to another bigger club, Norwich again. Got them promoted 6 months into the season. He joined and maintained that and got them promoted. I thought it was a bit harsh to get the sack from Norwich. I think Norwich are always, as Terry's touched on a hiding to nothing in the Premier League. They're always going to be bottom six of the Premier League or top six of the Championship. So I think, and they were looking like being relegated, but I thought it was a bit harsh to lose his job. I thought they might have given him another chance to get them back up. Preston, hit and miss at Preston. I thought he did a decent job. Nothing spectacular, but Preston, again, mid-table, pushing for the playoffs. I don't know if he got them in the playoffs. I think they were on the edge of the playoffs a few times. Maybe didn't quite get into the playoffs. But I think he's, in terms of his personality, down to earth. He's gritty. He'll be fiery on the touchline. He won't be coming out with daft comments like Lee Johnson did after matches. I think he'll probably be more likely to give them a kick up the backside, more of a Peter Reid than a Lee Johnson. And I think that'll suit Sunderland fans down to the ground. And yeah, I'm fairly happy. I mean, I know we had our heart set on Roy Keane, and I think everybody's a bit flat. And I think that's nothing against Alex Neil. I just think it's a fact that everyone had the heart set on Roy Keane, and it didn't really matter who was going to come in. When we got the news that he turned the job down, we're always going to be a bit flat. But I think if you just kind of difficult to forget Roy Keane, but forget Roy Keane for a second and look at Alex Neil. There's a lot of Championship clubs probably would have gone for Alex Neil. So we're a League One club, and we're getting them with aspirations to get up the Championship. So I'm okay with that. I think he'll do better than maybe one or two are expecting.
Yeah, Gary, before I go to you, just one more quick look at the live chat. Johnny Cool on there, very brilliant name, saying I'd always fancied Ian Evatt. Alan Carr asking, where's Philly and his sources? Philly is hiding after he proudly proclaimed that Roy Keane was coming back to Sunderland. He's hiding with his sauces. He's got his ketchup, he's got his mayo, he's got his barbecue, he's got his brown. And Dale Boyd as well saying, I'm going Saturday. I'll manage one more. WeGog60 says there was literally no plan in place whatsoever. Gary, there's been, obviously two names have been thrown about today. And will you be pleased with either of them too?
Not.
I'm guessing not really then.
I'm not inspired by either of them. No. It looks as though it's going to be Neil. If Neil comes in, I'd take him over Grant McCann. I honestly believe that for a manager to be successful at Sunderland, they need to have something about them, as in a bit of arrogance, a bit of personality, larger than life characters. I'm thinking Reedy, I'm thinking Allardyce. Keane first time around, Poirier had that arrogance about him, that belief that he was big enough for the job, and he would convince the fans that he was going to make a difference and take us on to better things. And on the other hand, we've ended up with a lot of dour, unimaginative, people who've not lifted the fans at all. You know, Moyes being one example, Simon Grayson being another example. People who just, to me, just weren't up to the job. Didn't inspire, didn't really get the club. And we've suffered from a few people like that over the years. So I was really hoping we could get somebody with something about them, something that would lift the fans and get the fans on side. Having said that, from the lists that were bandied around in the bookies and on the social media at the beginning, there wasn't too many of those personalities in there to choose from potentially. And from those lists, Neil would probably have been my preferred candidate from those lists. So I'm not inspired, but agree with what the lad said. I mean, he did a great job at Hamilton. He seemed to take them from absolutely nowhere up to the Scottish Premier League. I also thought he was unlucky at Norwich. The thing that makes me feel a bit better about Neil is what fans of his previous clubs have been saying. Preston fans have talked about him being tactically quite astute, unlucky to lose his job. Norwich fans saying something similar. Mickey Gray made a remark today to say he's got quite a strong personality, got a bit of fire in his belly, and you'll soon know if he's got a problem with somebody or something. So maybe there's more to Alex Neil than maybe I appreciate, and maybe he will be up to the job. McCann just doesn't inspire me at all. And Hull fans quite down on him, actually, even though he got them promoted last season. And so out of the two of them, I'd take Neil every time. I'm not inspired, but do you know what? The most important thing is we get somebody in and get somebody in quick, because those players at the moment are rudderless. They need leadership. They need to know where they stand. And the sooner we can get some stability back in, the better. So if they get Neil appointed tonight, which sounds as though they might, you know, even if he's not taking the team on Saturday, get him in the stands, let the players know who's in charge, and let's turn this around, because, you know, the last week has just been an absolute nightmare. You know, for us to be where we are is just unacceptable.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we would need from someone is a bit of strength of character, quite a strong person. I think really, I think where it's went wrong sometimes this season has just been a bit of a lack of character, a lack of mental strength. So I think someone who could install that into the players with their own personality would be welcome. From me, really, I think the main reason I would probably say McCann over Neil, just for myself, I don't know if I went into enough data, but I just think he's done it quite a lot at this level. 2 decent seasons as Doncaster and then winning the league with Hull. I think that's, to me, enough kind of proof that, you know, he will be, at the very least, a decent appointment. Quickly going back to chat, AJJ saying, not everybody wants Keane. Neil, a good appointment, best recruit we've had in this league. Tactically superb. And Tony Lee as well saying, well said, Shieldsy. So I must have agreed with Jack's point earlier on. Lads, there's another thing I quickly want to go through. So obviously we've got Wimbledon on Saturday. Let's say there was a head coach or a new manager to be announced either tonight or tomorrow morning. Would you let them take control of the team for Saturday, you know, or would you say take control after the weekend's gone and allow the interim coaches to take one more game control? Terry, what's that with you?
100% Saturday. Don't want them interim coaches anywhere near the touchline at the weekend. God's sake, they couldn't bloody motivate anything. I tell you what, put them somewhere in a cupboard out the way on Saturday. Just leave them at Sunderland. They shouldn't even be anywhere near London, anywhere near Wimbledon down that end at the weekend. Bloody hell, send them to Scotland for the week.
I had a feeling we're going to get an answer kind of like that. Jack, I'll go to you. Who would you let take control of the game on Saturday if they're only to be appointed tonight or tomorrow morning?
Just echoing what Terry says, if whoever it is looks like Alex Neil, get him down to Sunderland. If he's in Scotland now, get him down. Let him take training tomorrow morning, because we can't have those two in charge. I mean, Mike Dodds, he's more like Ken Dodd, the way he's been managing the last couple of days. And I personally don't trust anyone with the surname Dodds, so there we go.
Well, we aren't exactly trustworthy people all the time, are we? Gary, before I go to you, Pino Alestino on the chat saying, can Defoe take team Saturday? So he's suggesting Defoe takes it. And Brian Halliday saying, Coco the Clown is better than the admin staff. Gary, are you gonna make it 4 yeses, as Simon Cowell, the X Factor, would say? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I mean, with what Dodds came out with on Saturday night, talking about the players' disappointment, you know, I mean, he's not a man manager, is he? Whatever he does on the training ground, he's not inspiring anybody. You know, he's had 38,000 there on Saturday, and all he wants to do is talk about how disappointed the lads are. They didn't play like they were disappointed. They played like they needed a rocket up their arse, and he's not the kind of person who's going to give it. No, get rid of them. Neil needs to. If it's Alex Neil, he needs to put his stamp on the team. And if he gets, well, the guy will have been watching football. No doubt he's, show him a couple of videos the last couple of games. Let him make the selection. Let's have him on the touchline. I don't see any point in doing anything else. As soon as possible for me. We need it.
Yeah, I think they're very tactically inept. I think, to me, it was on Tuesday night after they made the changes to the starting 11, which I thought we praised them for, but then they didn't make any substitutions as the second half progressed. I think they proved themselves really tactically inept and probably more suited, to just bring them through the under-23s and help them out with their development. Maybe they're just completely out of the depth. I think, it isn't. I think, as well, if you've known that this job's been available for the last couple of weeks, you've probably kept an eye on Sunderland. The likes of McCann and Neil have probably known that, unless someone else takes the job, they could be, within the running for it. And, you would hope they've at least kind of kept an eye on things, but at the very least, let them take train tomorrow, have a chat with a few of the more senior heads, and hopefully they can take over, because I just don't have any faith that while, Dodds and Potter are in charge, that we're gonna pick up any good results. As Jack pointed out, a certain surname can be largely untrustworthy. Of course, going into Saturday, I guess a large part of it is based on how who comes in. If we're able to appoint you on before the game, Gary, I'll start with you. Are you confident at all that we can turn things around on Saturday, get a good result?
No, not confident. I can't be confident. I can't be when we're losing 2-1 away at Cheltenham. A club who celebrate the fact that was their biggest attendance of the season because they got 5,700 through the gate. You talk about low points in the club's history. Bolton was bad enough. We'd never lost to Doncaster before. Then we lose at Cheltenham Town. No, I can't be confident. I just can't. Not with the way the players are playing. We've got the players, but if we're too weak, there's no leadership on the pitch. I understand some of the players had questioned Speakman after Johnson was sacked. What happened to the question was what's happened to the project and all the rest of it. They need to go out and show some balls, get stuck in. Now, don't get me wrong, if we get an early goal, I said this on Tuesday, if we get an early goal, we start to control the game, maybe they'll come back into it. Maybe somebody will start to grab hold of the game and we'll turn it on a bit. But, I mean, we're playing away at a club that didn't exist 20 years ago. But no, I can't be confident because that's exactly the sort of game where this team will struggle unless they put their imprint on the game fairly early and get hold of the ball and start to play with some purpose and confidence. No, I can't be confident at all. I'm looking at fourth defeat here. I'd take a draw here and now. I've already started to think that the first chance we've got for the new manager to make a difference will be MK Dons a week on Saturday. That's when it really starts. I'm not confident. You can't.
Yeah, we should definitely have someone in place, of course, by next week, and I think something will be seriously wrong if we were still managerless by then. Steve Royal on the chat here. I'm 63 years old, and my happiest days are when Sunderland aren't playing. Our special fan base deserves so much more, and we very rarely get it. Terry, I'm guessing you're not very confident at all either.
If we appoint Alex Neil as the head coach tomorrow and he takes charge of the game, I'm 100% confident we can get a result. I think he'll come in. I mean, he's not a complete stranger, is he? He's going to be watching all of the last games over and over again to find out where the problems are. If he's got anything about him, which obviously he has, getting Norwich promoted, getting Hamilton promoted, he'll know how to turn the team around in a couple of days, how to make some of the faults and correct the faults. He'll be watching them over and over again. He'll know it. Things will stand out to him clear as day that we don't even see, or the things that we see, he'll see straight away. So he'll implement his own. He might not change everything around, but he'll know where the problems are, and he'll change one or two tweaks, and he'll have the team well up for Saturday. So for me, if he's in charge on Saturday, I feel confident that we'll win on Saturday, yes.
DJ Sizzler Watson on the live chat saying, do you agree we must play up front, 4-4-2? John T saying, yes, Terry. Must have, of course, agreed with the mad mistakes point. And Stephen Crosby on the live chat saying, need to stop this. We are bigger than you. Crap. Just remember 1973. Jack, I'll go to you on this. Is you confident in the slightest that we could get a positive result on Saturday?
I think so. I mean, you normally do get a little bit of a lift under the new manager. I know Lee Johnson lost his first game in charge against Wigan, but I remember he walloped Lincoln 4-0, and that was a bit of a surprise result. So you might get that new lift. Hopefully, fingers crossed we do. I'm just looking at the Wimbledon form, though. I don't think they've won in about 10 or 11 games, so you know what's coming.
There you go.
December the 7th.
It's something like 11 or 12 games, but it's, well, hopefully, surely Lightning can't strike 3 times in a row, but you never know. But I think, it's just about attitude, really. I think there's a little bit of complacency in the last couple of games, and I think we've gone into it and just thought, the lower in the league, the no Swiss, Sunderland, we should be able to turn up and win without really grafting and putting in the hard yards. And I think if we show that attitude throughout the rest of the season, then we'll probably won't even make the playoffs. But if we knuckle down now, new manager, new chance for a few of the players to show what they're capable of, and he like Terry says, tweaks 1 or 2 things that are maybe quite glaringly going wrong for the last couple of games, then absolutely no reason why we can't get in the playoffs. We're in a good position now. And I think it would take a pretty poor run again for us not to be in the playoffs. But I think if we get him in and he has a good training session and things are positive, I'm confident. I think we might just get back to 3 points.
Yeah, I just think we need someone who's a bit more of a man manager, someone who might not necessarily know everything about the squad, but someone who can watch a game of football, a men's senior first team professional game of football and make their own analysis as things are going along and make changes. I think I lost all faith in Proctor and Dodds on Tuesday night when they waited far too long to make those substitutions. That crucially, in my opinion, cost us the game. To me, it was around about the 55th minute around about then. It was clear that something needed to be changed, and if it didn't, they were going to get a goal, and they ended up doing it, of course. One quick last look at the live chat. Stephen Clark saying one thing we look forward to is the 15-16 cup finals, though. Kathleen Baxter saying, please only in it for the money. Not entirely sure who she's referring to there. Don't call me Mac, and that's a fantastic YouTube name. Says, son, until I die, any manager who comes to the club must realise the club is more than a club. It runs in every fibre into you. It seeps in and out of every pore, and it breathes in its breath as you breathe. That was a hard one to read out, but we got there in the end. Lads, we're going to do predictions. Gary, score prediction for Saturday.
Put me on the spot, why don't you? I'll say 1-1. It's the best I can come up with.
Yeah. Jack, prediction for yourself?
I'm going to be positive. If we get Neil in now, I'm going to say 2-1 Sunderland. A gritty 2-1 win.
Yes. And Terry, your prediction as well?
Only my thoughts, right? If Bailey Wright's fit and he comes in and we go to a back 3, right?
There we go.
I like this.
And we go to a back 3, but if he's not fit, I'd play Jamajli. I'd have Clark up top with Stewart, but also playing and helping out with Serkin on the left-hand side, because they can play well together, them two. They can overlap and help each other out on the right-hand side. Winchester can play really well on the right-hand side and help out Hume, because Hume itself as well, Hume is going to be a good wing back up and down on that side, clearly. And Winchester can do what Evans didn't do on Tuesday night and actually help the lad out. So for me, if Winchester can't be any worse than Evans, Bitete starts, and like I say, Clark possibly sort of not exactly up front with Stewart, but he can be sort of down the left-hand side, interlocking with Serkin and Pritchard as well. So for me, 5-3-2 or 5-3-1.5, how would you want to call it? I don't know, but we need 3 centre-backs, simple as, and I'd love it if Bailey Wright was back. But if he's not back, play the other centre-back. He's a goddamn centre-back, not a midfielder.
Great as always. See Terry's tactical board. Maybe where Michael Proctor and Mike Dodds could take. But
I'll just go with Alex Neil. Whatever he does on Saturday, we'll just follow him.
Yeah, I think if we are at a point, you kind of just want them to go with whatever team they want. But then again, if they are tuned in, maybe they could take a leaf out of Terry's book and buy their own whiteboard. DJ Earth on the live chat saying Wimbledon 3, Sunderland 0. Thinks we're going to get battered. Stephen Clark saying 2-1 SAFC. Nefarious Dave saying 1-1. Tam saying get beat 2-0. And Lucas Bolt saying 1-0 SAFC. I did make a preview yesterday with Mike Taliadoros, who is the radio commentator for Wimbledon. So if you would like to go and watch that, it is on the channel now. I left my score prediction there of 1-1. I do think it's going to be quite a tight and gritty game, regardless of whether someone's appointed or not. I'm not 100% confident we're definitely going to get a result. But we're going to leave the show there. Terry, have you had fun?
2-0 to Sunderland. 2-0 to Sunderland. That was my short answer.
Go on. Have you had fun on tonight's show, Terry?
Champion always enjoy it.
Gary, our special guest this evening, have you enjoyed what's been a very pleasant hour?
Absolutely, it has been very pleasant. I needed the counselling, I needed to unburden. So thank you to you guys for letting me do that.
Well, very, very pleased to help, Gary, and Jack Shields as well. Jack, have you had a good night?
It's always enjoyable, isn't it? It's always good talking about Sunderland, even if we're at probably one of the lowest points in our history. It's a bit of a gallows. You have to have a bit of gallows room to be a Sunderland fan, don't you? We're not in it to win trophies. We're not in it for that.
Yes, we would just like to point one thing out as well. A quick message for all of our moderators. If you haven't already, could you please email SAFC Fan TV 73@gmail.com. I believe Philly wants to get in contact with you all to discuss something. If you don't contact this email quick enough, Philly will be removing all the spanners on the live chat. I'm not entirely sure what it's for, but I guess if you email, you will find out. But we are going to leave tonight's show there. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. If you haven't already, please do give us a like and subscribe. It's free to do both of those things. See if we can get 200 likes before the end of the stream, before we go off air. We are on the path to 10,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It is free to do so, and you won't miss out on any of our future streams. But from me, from Terry the Man Mistake, from Jack Shields, and from our special guest, Gary P, thank you for watching, and we will see you for the Sunday bunch. Bye-bye.